AllSports Podcast.
Hello and welcome to the AllSports Podcast with me, Matt, KJ, Joel and James, where we talk about all things sport that interested us over the last week and more. Got anything you want to say or interested, get in touch at allsportspods@gmail.com. Right, that's it. Intro. Happy?
Very good.
Love it.
Excellent. Right, we'll get into the agenda. I use the word agenda really loosely. We'll go into Prem football to start with then. Well, top of the list we've got, and it's probably not top of the list, is Fulham Brighton. The only reason why I say Fulham Brighton is because I looked at your FPL team, KJ, and I thought Muniz, and I thought no, and then he did it for you.
You've got him.
It's been pretty hot the last few weeks, hasn't he?
I don't have him in my FPL.
Who's got Muniz? Someone's got Muniz.
You might be getting confused that I've got Brozier.
Oh,
I'm not.
I swear,
I don't even know he exists.
He went there from Chelsea, and there was this big story about them getting him, and like quite a big loan fee. Like they pushed quite hard to get him. So I was like, he's quite cheap. So I was like, oh, that might be a sneaky little differential. And then Muniz just goes on this crazy scoring run. I didn't even know he was there until he got that goal, like a couple of weeks ago. So.
Yeah, it's Mark's got Muniz. He got that transfer and he knew what he was doing.
He had Cunha as well.
Yeah.
Yeah, I knew someone had him.
5-5 now, is he? So, like a good bet for him.
Yeah, I think Brighton is struggling with that. You know, the thing you see after a team gets into Europe, they probably shouldn't have got there, haven't got the depth to deal with all season, and you see them just drop off massively. Same thing Newcastle are doing now, really.
Yeah. I feel like it's going on the radar how poor they've been, actually. Like, they're 5 wins in 21 now. Since they got beat by Villa, like September or October last year, something like that. Yeah, they're 5 wins in 21, which I think is crazy because like, they're still talking about De Zerbi and still linking him with big jobs.
Some of the players they have, they've got a great coach, they've got a great system. 5 in 21 is just massively underachieving.
The funny thing is on that side as well, like you look at the stats, right? You've got Pascal Gross sitting there top of the table in terms of the assists as well, which is absolutely mental when you think about where they are on the table.
Yeah. Just does it all, doesn't he? Just pops up when you wouldn't expect him to.
Exactly. I'm glad I've got him in my FPL draft team, let me tell you that.
Yeah, well, with Gross, I think there are Brighton players that I think they're like squad players in any other team, but they do it for Brighton. I honestly think they're squad players in other teams. I think they're actually a good team.
I mean,
the team, not individuals.
Yeah. Well, it was a squad player 7 or 8 years ago, and he's still doing it at Brighton, which is just mental to think about.
Yeah, true. I'm always surprised to kind of see him in the team. But I think the squad players thing is an interesting thought because I think that like they've got a squad of squad players. And like, there's a lot of rotation there that happens. I think they've got a lot of players at similar levels, and actually, that's hurting them a bit this season. Like they rotate a lot, and I just think they look unsettled. And the way that he asks them to play, the margins are so fine that if you don't have a settled 11, or at least like a settled core of the 11, then yeah, gaps appear quite quickly. And defensively, they've been really poor this season.
Yeah, I feel like you've got to adapt somewhat in the Premier League, as you do in every top league, right? And so you look at them over the years, their system and the way that they play in the midfield has kind of been found out a bit this season. So the teams are starting to really kind of catch on and know where to kind of attack those weak points.
Well, funnily enough, Brighton did them, didn't they? Was it 3 or 4-0 they beat them or more?
Who?
Didn't they?
You said Brighton.
Not Brighton. No, Luton did Brighton, didn't they? I'm sure.
Yes.
I'm sure that was like 4 or 5.
Yeah,
4-0.
Yeah.
But yeah, but that's like the way Luton are playing. We're segueing on very, very quickly to Luton. I love Luton. My now closest Premier League team.
Oh yeah, of course. They're a real throwback. Like, it's interesting because I don't know if they played like that last season. I didn't see a ton of them last season, but yeah, like when they get their bit between their teeth, like the amount of crosses that they get into the box and the way that they force like set pieces, because they know they're good at them, and that Doughty has obviously got like fantastic delivery. Yeah, real throwback, I think.
Yeah, and when you got like the likes of Morris and Adebayo on that team as well, I mean, those guys should be in your team if they're not already, and they've got a double game week coming up as well, right? So it's perfect timing.
Morris has been in and out of mine. I'm not, because they are inconsistent too. They score so many goals. They score in nearly every game, I think.
Yeah, the commentator said on Sunday that I think they've scored in their last 13 games in a row, now 14. So
that's mental. They can get a goal, but because they're getting goals, it's because they're countering and they're leaving themselves wide open. But like the Arsenal game was at Luton was like 4-3 Arsenal.
Yeah,
they're getting the goals.
Yeah, I think
I'd love for them to stay up. I don't think they're going to stay up. I'd love for them to stay up though.
That's why they're like, though, is that they're giving it a go. Like the problem is with these teams coming up from the Championship is some of them look like, rabbits in the head, like Burnley, for example, Sheffield. They just look like they could get ripped apart every week. And they're stuck in this like conundrum. Do they come up and try and do what Forest do, spend loads of money, like flirt with FFP, but stay in the league, or stick to what worked for you last year? And what you're seeing for Sheffield and Burnley is it doesn't really transfer that well to the Prem. But Luton are, like you say, they're just so like, they just get into it. They're not afraid of the challenges. They're not afraid of like doing things their way, which is probably why they're getting quite a lot of plaudits for what they're doing.
Yeah, I think like Luton Villa at the weekend was like that's the epitome of Luton season, isn't it?
Exactly.
And maybe Villa's
patches. Yeah. Like I think it's interesting that you talk about like the teams that come up. Like I think Burnley haven't adjusted at all. Luton took a bit of time, but you could see that they were adjusting to the league. Like, I don't know the nuances of like how they changed their style or whatever, but you could just see that they looked like they could get results, and Kenilworth Road's like a factor as well. But then you got Sheffield United, who it's like, it felt like, they were selling Sander Berge in the summer and like a key player in their side. Obviously he's gone to Burnley. He hasn't like pulled up any trees, but I don't know. I think it's just symbolic of what they were expecting this season.
That's exactly the thing with like Sheffield. They've done the opposite of what every other team. They haven't strengthened. They've got weaker from the Championship, which was always going to cause this season. They changed their manager halfway through to a more of a cult hero than someone that there was a great coach. Maybe back in the day he was great, but they look absolutely lost now.
Shocked.
Joel, what do you make of Watkins as a Villa fan?
Yeah, man, he's having a really, really good season. Like, I think since Emery's come in, he's been so consistent. It's interesting with Watkins, like he was always a bit streaky, and he could go like 8 or 9 games without a goal, but then he'd get one and he'd get like 8 and 7 or something like that. But those runs where he's scoring goals are longer, and the runs where he's not scoring are shorter now. Obviously, like his stats make his season look really good as well. Like he's 10 assists this season as well, so he's contributing in other ways. Like for us, he's the perfect striker. Like I genuinely don't think I'd swap him for anyone else in the Prem for us. Like to work the line the way that he does as a forward, like it doesn't matter if they're playing 3 at the back or 4 at the back or whatever. Like he will work all the way across that line. I think
he's target man too, right? He
holds the ball up really well. Like on Saturday in particular, in that first half, he was up against was it Mengi? I think his name is, at centre half, and like big, strong centre half. They left him 1-on-1 with him, and like he didn't always get the better of him. I actually thought Mengi had a pretty good game against Watkins, but like he keeps going. That's the thing about him. Like he keeps going and he wins some of his duels. And when he does, like that little turn at the end of the first half where he just dipped his shoulder and went the other side, that's really similar to something that he did against Fulham as well, dragging Adebayo out of position and then turning inside, because he's so quick. I feel like he's in brilliant form. When he's confident, looks like a really good player, and a dead cert to go to the Euros now. I think he's
Watkins over Kane for number 9.
Yeah, not quite. I don't think.
Why not?
About Kane playing in 10 and Watkins up front. But I think Watkins is the perfect weapon for England to take when they need to do what we don't do, which is stretch defences. So I think he'll go. He can play off the left, but for me, that's Foden's spot. But he's a great weapon that not a lot of teams will have.
Foden, Saka, Watkins, Kane. It's sounding all right.
Well, I just think
they don't. That doesn't actually. They don't line up together, do they? So,
and I think the development of Bellingham into a more advanced midfielder as well. He takes that spot in behind Kane.
Ballon d'Or winner. When a year to go, 2 years to go.
Could well be this year, I reckon. Don't see many people challenging in that regard.
Yeah, well, he's not going to play. He's not going to play for the next 2 or 3 games.
If Real Madrid win something big and England win the Euros, I think he'd be close to being up there. He'd definitely be in the conversation.
I think what just amazes many people as England fans, as Real Madrid fans, is just his level of maturity, right? He's come in there, he's really grabbed the team by the scruff of the neck and really dragged them through some difficult, matches at times. And he just has that ability, that bit of magic in his boots to really kind of turn the game around, absolutely, and those dying moments. And I'm sure we'll touch upon it later on, if not now. But bottom line is that, at certain points during that game over the weekend, he showed up time and time again. Pretty much almost grabbed the last minute winner there. But unfortunately, there was a bit of a strange red card towards him that game as well. So, can't have it all your own way, and looks like he might have to face a bit of an appeal decision for the next couple of games.
Is that 3 games? Does it go down as violent conduct? Is that?
Yeah. So. Oh, well, I don't know. Is it really, or is it not just mouthing off?
Yeah, it looked like he was mouthing off at the end of that, right? So, I mean, there were plenty of incidents over the weekend, both in Serie A and La Liga, where you saw a bit of argy-bargy with the ref and a few awkward challenges here and there. And I think Lazio-Milan was definitely one of those games as well.
That's what I was going to say. Is that what happened at Lazio?
Yeah, there were a couple of, I think it was just one of those games where it almost pretty much looked like a derby match, despite the fact that it wasn't, right. It pretty much played out like it was an Inter versus AC Milan match.
What was the no-look card?
The ref is like dishing out a red and a yellow, I think.
Yeah.
He's not looking at either of them. There's a great photo of the ref going around and he's just got 2 cards in his hand, but he's not looking at either of them.
Yeah, he was pretty much guaranteed to card someone at some point. It just happened to be an unfortunate couple of yellows there. But there are a couple of yellows that turned to red from Luca Pellegrini. I think Guendouzi as well. Maricic was a straight red. I thought that one was a bit debateful, to be honest with you, because he basically just kind of like goes up for the ball. Didn't seem to be any kind of malice in the challenge there. But opposing player goes down and basically ref deemed that a red card, and the player who went down was Rafael Leao, and he's not one who's prone to diving in that respect. And there was very minimal contact on that decision.
Yeah, these things are getting talked about more and more, aren't they? There's one in the Prem this week, the Liverpool Forest game. The last 3-4 minutes of that game were absolute carnage. Everyone's got them under a microscope going. The Liverpool one, I think, was a little bit silly. It was 2.5 minutes before whatever happens. They had chances to keep the ball, had chances to clear the ball. If you want to look into it that deeply, I lost the ball 5 minutes ago, you can make that argument. The crowd are really up at that Forest game on top of the ref for the last 10 minutes.
There were 3 different stages of play between that incident and when the goal goes in from Nunez, right? So, fair enough.
I just don't like the extra time. I don't like it's extra time, 8 minutes extra time, and then another minute.
Yeah, but if you do, some of the Forest players were shameless in the.
But you don't get extra time and extra time, right?
You do. It's minimum of extra time.
Oh, I don't like it. It's so long.
It is, but
it's my concentration span more than anything. Maybe is the issue rather than the game.
The gamemanship in football is as high as it's ever been, and then obviously at the start of the season we were seeing 15 minutes added on to combat it. So naturally, it's declined a little bit, but it's definitely still being watched.
You get the feeling there's definitely carryover from the World Cup, right? I mean, pretty much every game there went into sometimes double digits in terms of extra time. It was getting ridiculous.
It is, but
so it's the combater, right? It's supposed to combat the gamesmanship, but it's now worse.
Depends which way you look at it.
I feel like we're edging towards some kind of clock control.
It works great in rugby. It honestly works great. Like the stop clock when it needs to be stopped for injuries. Like it doesn't stop for a scrum, and there's some challenges with that because the scrums can take a very long time. Like they pick the mud out of their boots, sort their shirts out, tie their laces, and it's reset the scrum. Like we weren't ready, reset, step back, you're too far over, and that like it goes on too long. But that's kind of the only thing that's wrong with the stop clock. But basketball, like NFL, it's just in many other sports and works fantastically well, and the flow of the game is still there.
Yeah, and you find that as well in tennis, right? I mean, again, it can work against many players there where they've just come off the back of a 30-shot rally, and then all of a sudden, the umpires are actually saying that, you've got a good 10 seconds to get ready and serve your ball. So you feel like it's one of those things that is kind of going across all the sports in some respect, and it's got to be monitored very carefully.
Pacing, isn't it? That's what it is. Yeah, pacing.
Not in golf. Worst monitored sport ever.
Last game. Well, it's coming. I don't want to talk about it because it was such a farce. But that stupid Netflix Cup thing with the golf, where they're in buggies and then they're sprinting out of the buggies, putting balls that are still moving. I mean, it was the worst advert for golf that there's ever been.
Netflix do some great things in sport, but that was not one of them.
Well, there was the match this weekend, wasn't there?
Yeah, I think the first iteration was great. That was Phil versus Tiger, was it, way back when? That's when it started. That was great, and it slowly got less and less interesting. I mean, for me personally, obviously big into my golf, this sort of stuff's got to be left to the content creators now. The most eyes in golf is like heading that way. If you want to make something entertaining, you need to get them involved, because the match, I mean, I only watched the highlights, and even with Rory McIlroy, who's the biggest golfer on the planet, I couldn't stay interested.
No, it didn't have me. All right, I feel like we talked about football for a fairly decent chunk of time then, if we're going to go to bed at any decent time tonight. But just on the golf then, did you see what was said about the Masters? Obviously, Masters coming up next month. It'd be nice to build up to the Masters a little bit. We'll talk about it more in depth. But Taylor Gooch saying there'll be an asterisk against Rory McIlroy's name if he wins the Masters this year. I'm not sure.
I think Rory responded to it really well there. I think the interviewer was trying to get out certain quotes from Taylor Gooch, which obviously he fell into. But I mean, Joaquin Niemann's had his invite now. He's probably the most informed golfer on the planet. And then he went out and said, after he won the Live, I'm a top 100 player. Like, obviously, I haven't got a chance. So he's taking a little bit of a dig at the world rankings, which isn't the most smart thing I've ever seen. I think Live, the whole Live saga is actually really good for golf. You come to these majors and you're interested in seeing how the Rahms and the Koepkas get on, because the PGA Tour is, in my eyes, struggling for winners. The last 3 winners have been outsiders, 40-1 shots. They need one of these big guys to come in and win a competition to reinstate their leading tour status.
Yeah, I can't tell you who won the last 3, but I've also not bought into Live, but I'm not watching Live.
Yeah, I watched Anthony Kim's return. I watched the first round, and there's dance music going on in the background. It sounds weird, but there's almost too much golf. There's no chance to breathe. It's shot, and I'm like, okay, relax a little bit.
Anthony Kim's come back. So Anthony Kim, superstar youth golfer, college, started on tour, got injured
12 years ago. Yeah.
Got an insurance payout, I believe.
Yep.
So then wasn't able to play because the insurance payout was contingent on the fact that he wasn't able to be a professional golfer. Mm-hmm. So that precluded him, is maybe the right word, from being on the tour.
Yeah.
But since Live, he's able to be on Live. How was his comeback? Is he any good?
I think he was last by about 14 shots. He shot 76, 74. He was miles back, but it's not the injury to golf happened, and he wasn't playing for a while. And then I think he went through quite like a dark spell for a few years. And Greg Norman was saying he tried to pull him into Live when it started, and it's taken him 2 years to get him back. So I mean, growing up, him and Rory came through it like the same sort of time. He was meant to be the next Woods. So if he can get fit and healthy, he's still a very good golfer.
No one's going to be the next Woods now, are they? Now that Rory's not getting it done.
Don't think you won't see domination like that ever again.
Yeah, I don't think so. Well, speaking of domination ever again, what am I segue into? I could segue to the Celtics.
I don't know what you're segueing into here.
I could segue to Formula One and talk about Max Verstappen. Let's talk about Max Verstappen. Well, that's the funny thing. I don't think you can talk about Max Verstappen at the minute. He's winning. He's won 21 out of the last 22 races, and it's all about Christian Horner. Maybe that's what Jos Verstappen's dad's upset about, is that it should all be about Max right now and not Christian Horner, and that's why he wants Horner out.
They've got a historically fractious relationship anyway, haven't they? But yeah,
Verstappen's dad and
Horner. Yeah, Horner. I think Horner barred Jos Verstappen from the garage in 2018 for pressuring Max or whatever. So I think they've always been a little bit fractured. But yeah, some of the stuff that's come out, like these leaks that's going on, someone had it out for Horner. Like there's no doubt about that. Someone is trying to get him sacked. It all looks terrible on the sport. Like no one's talking about the first race really. It's all about the drama behind it.
Yeah, and the driver changes that's going to cause. So latest I saw on F1 News was Verstappen to Mercedes. So Lewis to Ferrari.
Why would Verstappen go anywhere at the moment?
Yeah. So the reason why Verstappen would go to Mercedes is because of the Verstappens, Jos and Max, wanting Horner out. So if Horner stays, Max is going to go. Adrian Newey, the chief designer. In fact, everyone says it's all about Adrian Newey's design rather than the race driver. If any of the other top race drivers, Alonso, Hamilton, had been in the Red Bull, they'd have also been winning the championships. It's because of Adrian Newey's car. So Adrian Newey goes to Ferrari, Lewis goes to Ferrari. The seats then open at Mercedes, and they obviously want Max. And Max isn't happy. His dad's not happy. Red Bull's just not a happy place at the moment. So they're saying the odds are
he's winning though, and they do have the best car.
Yeah, at some point, like Lewis did when he left and went to Mercedes for the project, and is doing to Ferrari as well, I guess, to prove that you are more than a car and a team. Schumacher did it. Schumacher went from Benetton to Ferrari and drove for Mercedes too. I mean, I don't think I could be an F1 driver and not want to drive for Ferrari at some point in my career.
Yeah, it's all about 2026 though, isn't it? Lewis made that jump 1 year before a reg change. So he had one dodgy year when Michael Schumacher was there as well. Didn't win much or if any races. So the theory is 2026 is that next big shift. So everyone's making those moves. I know you mentioned about Newey to Ferrari, but I was reading today he had an offer to go and design a Le Mans car and then work with who's coming into the sport, Audi or Andretti, one of the two providers that are looking at coming in. So he's looking at 2026 as well. So it could all kick off. It could all stay the exact same. It's going to be a weird 6 months, I think, for F1.
It is. Drive to Survive next year now is obviously much anticipated. It's like propping up F1 at the minute. Drive to Survive, certainly the fan base.
I mean, that was such a circus at the weekend. The whole thing. Obviously, there'll be a big focus on that in that kind of docu-series. But yeah, I just thought I'm surprised. Obviously, it's managed, and Red Bull are going to have a say in it as well. So I'm really surprised that they thought that was a good idea to draw even more attention to it when there's all these kind of allegations still flying around. I think he probably should have kept his head down, but
yeah, I mean, he's just coming out with the denial. It's like prove me wrong, and I'm going to shout denial louder than you accuse me. It feels like that's his tactic. Bring the lawyers in. It sounded like Red Bull were ready to get rid of him, and he wouldn't step down. So fought them with lawyers and won. And but I think, just coming out of it looking like a real dick, and just a dick. Like that's all he is. Like similar thing happened with his first wife. This was Jerry Halliwell was on the grid and cuddling him while he had a child on the way.
Right.
He just
Got previous
track record.
Well, hey,
Pun definitely intended. That just came to me. I've not got that written down anywhere, I promise. But yeah, just absolutely great. I think watching Drive to Survive, he always comes across as like smug and not really enjoyable, not the sort of person you'd want to have a cup of tea with. But yeah.
In F1 at the moment is the FIA president. Have you seen this? Ben Suleiman. He's been involved in 2 controversies in 2 days now. So yesterday it was about him having an Alonso penalty removed.
It's like a stop and go penalty.
Yeah, so he's getting involved in things that he has no business in getting involved in. And I was reading one today about the Vegas circuit. He was looking for certification to be either stressed or rushed against the circuit, really. And I was a bit confused reading it. You think as the FIA president, they're trying to really got this America agenda going on, but he's clearly working in the background to go against that.
Yeah, it's like F1 and the FIA are competing against each other, and like they want more money. The FIA wants more money out of F1. F1 are getting all of the money from Vegas, so he's trying to put a spanner in the works by the sounds of it. What I would say is the leaks and the whistleblowers and the media contact and the amount of sources that come out of F1, it's just such hot gossip all the time. There's so much. It's not secretive. Everyone's sharing everything. Everyone's got a source, and it all seems pretty legitimate as well. Like the whistleblowers and the sources that come out, it seems pretty legitimate as well. It's not like those old transfer gossip columns from football in the early 2000s where Paul Gascoigne was spotted at like New York airport doing a medical for New York Red Bulls or something absolutely random like that. Like, this is legitimate.
That wasn't the only place he was spotted, was he, James?
Hey,
Yeah.
Story for another day.
I don't think I know the story.
Football gossip has been taken over by Fabrizio now. He's the king of football drama.
It doesn't it? It's crazy. Like,
everywhere. They don't tweet it. It doesn't happen.
Who is he? Go on.
Fabrizio. What's his surname?
Romano.
Yeah, he's the social media transfer rumor king. Basically, he had a big thing about "here we go" confirmed. If he tweets "here we go," transfers are going through. So he is like the hub of all rumors. I think I was reading some bits in the summer, like players will go directly to him trying to drum up interest, so that they'll be sort of directing the market using what he says, which is to say no one heard of him 5 years ago is quite a nuts position to hold.
Yeah, he's just
he's an agent's best friend, isn't he?
Exactly. Yeah, I think he's managed to build a little black book of really good contacts.
Is he behind the over 35 World Cup rumours?
Oh, who knows? I did read a bit about that earlier this week on my Instagram about a few players coming up who were on the Brazil team, and we might have heard.
I didn't even know it was a real thing. Is this a real thing? I feel like it's
very much the case. I mean, word coming out of places like St James's Park is it should be a thing come June, July this year, I hear. But interestingly enough, I mean, when you think about some of the players involved, I mean, some incredible players there from yesteryear. Having said
there's a mixed bag.
Yeah, there's a mixed bag for sure. I mean, I'm not really sure how I feel about watching Roberto Carlos play these days. I mean, if his substitution times are anything to go by, let's say, in some of the charity matches he plays for a few minutes, then just like trundles off. So, yeah, there for the nostalgia value alone, I guess.
Is it 11-a-side or is it like
I was going to ask exactly the same question, James.
Yeah. Is it basketball or is it outdoor? Anyone know?
No idea. I would hope for their health it's 11-a-side. I can't imagine 5 of them running around too much, but yeah.
Well, no, I think 5-a-side on a 5-a-side size pitch is probably more appropriate.
A regen of the Masters, 5-a-side indoor.
Imagine seeing Becks and Lampard ping it around a 5-a-side pitch. Yes. Go to that.
I mean, they could just do a bit of a modern day version of that Nike cage ad, if you remember that from back then. Yeah,
the Nike, those classic Nike ads, and also the Pepsi ones.
Oh, brilliant!
I think the airport one is the one for me.
Yeah, I just bought a shirt of that. Actually, it says Airport 98 on it.
Nice.
There's a nice little bit of nostalgia there. But let me throw this question out there to you guys. Then, what do you reckon are the best Nike and Adidas ads, if any others, in football?
Ooh,
I don't know that my recollection of them is strong enough, other than, and so I'd probably go with this one. And because of rugby, the Johnny Wilkinson and David Beckham Adidas.
What was that?
Kicking Johnny Wilkinson kicking a football, David Beckham kicking a rugby ball.
Yeah. Okay.
The Nike did a golf one with Tiger and Rory on like a range, and they were just like hitting balls obviously miles away, like in people's cups of coffee, like 300 yards away. That's a classic.
I think my favourite one might. Actually, I've got a couple of that, right? So one of them is where you're pretty much looking at the game through the players' eyes, and you remember Arsene Wenger scouting you out, and when you're kind of in your initial team, and then you go on to play for the likes of I think it was Holland or something like that. A few other players that can't, like a Rooney, a Tevez, Ronaldo, of course, Ibrahimovic comes up within that. And then what else? I mean, you've also got that other one from I think a few years ago where you've got the likes of the Incredible Hulk coming into play, right? And they all kind of like decide to kind of like transmutate into different players, and that is a pretty memorable ad in itself. I
don't remember this. Was this mid-80s?
No, it's
a few years ago.
Yeah,
I don't remember it.
Yeah,
Why don't I remember that? The Incredible Hulk and Wayne Rooney.
They basically just like call out to whoever they want to be. I'm going to be Ronaldo. I'm going to be the Hulk, and they basically just turn into that on a Sunday, 11-a-side pitch, and then in the professional games as well.
Rooney,
what about you, mate?
The duo that we didn't know that we needed. I literally couldn't name an Adidas ad. I don't think. It probably says a lot.
not doing a good enough job, are they?
No, probably not. I can't think of any that they're doing recently at all. I don't know. Right. No segue.
No segue.
Boston Celtics.
Well, couldn't say anything about basketball apart from LeBron James just broke a record.
It's been a long time since I watched basketball, but the Celtics were good when I watched them. When I used to watch back in
Larry Bird days,
late noughties.
Yeah, so they won. They won in 2008. I think was probably the last time they won.
Garnett, Pierce, Allen.
There you go. See, plenty. That's all you need to know. That's pretty much all you need to know. From Larry Bird, you've kind of covered it.
Yeah.
Anyway, so they're currently on a hot streak of 11 games in a row. And they beat Golden State Warriors. Well, in the first quarter, they doubled Golden State Warriors points. And that's Steph Curry's team, who 2 years away won the NBA Finals. So
Are they still up there, or are they kind of declining a bit now?
I mean, they're having a terrible season, but with their coach Steve Kerr, there's no reason, there's no rhyme or reason at all why they're playing as badly. But yeah, absolutely horrendous. They got beat by 52 points, so it was Boston Celtics 140-88.
Wow.
But yeah, at half time, I think I put it in the schedule. Was it at half time? It was 82-38.
Yeah. Wow.
So
give me some context about this hot streak though. 11 in a row. Obviously, they play a lot of games. What's the records?
I don't know what the records are. But the records will be vast. Longest
straight games.
How many? 30.
The 33 from the Lakers in the 71-72 season. Wow, that's impressive.
That's crazy, isn't it? Yeah, they're 82 game seasons, aren't they? So
yeah, well, you just be watching basketball every night. Eh? That's immense.
Yeah, basically, I think It's incredible.
That's the problem. Is it's 12:30 every night, so it's not a convenient time to watch it.
Yeah, not here. But yeah, I find it amazing that they can do it athletically. It's pretty intense. Obviously, they get a lot of time out of the game and stuff, and maybe they're playing between 15 and 20 minutes on average a night or something like that. But yeah, it's Oh no, Wayne won that, right? How long's a quarter?
15 minutes.
15.
Yeah.
Yep.
So
So
maybe
you're playing for an hour, but it is ball. That is pretty much ball in play time. But yeah, we'll see. We'll see if it continues or if they've peaked too soon. And this is kind of the problem. It's like it's not similar to what Arsenal did, but it's similar to what Arsenal did last year in that they just fell away. Like they had a hot streak of form and they just couldn't continue it when the pressure came on for another team who were there or thereabouts and had enough consistency to get it over the line.
Speaking of Netflix, I think
Celtics,
the City documentary is coming out about last season, the chasing down of Arsenal, the treble winning season. They've got all the behind the scenes, which will be great.
What's it coming out on?
I think it's Netflix, April.
Yeah, it is Netflix.
2nd, something like that.
See, those documentaries are solid from Netflix. Stick to that.
I find them less interesting when the team is winning. Like it's way more fun when there's some tragedy, which is why Sunderland Till I Die was so watchful.
But I mean, like going back to Joel's point about the basketball, like the fitness level is nothing to be sniffed at, right? I mean, I think LeBron James mentioned it, in his post-match interview, like when he's broken these records, that ultimately his biggest investment is in himself.
His body.
Yeah, it stands true. I mean, like you look at, I think you see a lot of things on Instagram and social media about how long a lot of these guys have been going for. I mean, you look at the video games that LeBron James was in when he started his career and the graphics back then compared to the graphics now, it tells you everything about his longevity, right?
Yes.
How old is LeBron James?
39.
Yeah.
Wow.
40 in December.
Yeah.
No retirement.
But I feel like his size alone, like you've got the skill set, which he doesn't necessarily need the fitness for. You can manage his minutes, like you can manage his season, but his skill set is there. So you manage his fitness, and it's like Jimmy Anderson in cricket, like doing a tour of India. Is he 39 kg?
Yeah,
39, and bowling medium fast pace in India on tour as well. It's like a young man's game.
41, Jimmy Anderson.
Yeah.
It's modern sports science. It's athletes keeping better control of their own bodies. They're just going to play longer and longer, aren't they?
You see it in football as well. Like
Ryan Giggs.
Well, just like generally, if a player got to 30, they were moved on. It's just not the case anymore. Like it's more like 35 now. Like you look at De Bruyne, he's 32, still like pretty much at the top of his game. Although there was a bit of a passing of the torch on at the weekend with Foden, wasn't there? But yeah, athletes are definitely playing longer.
And Teddy Sheringham gone for a while as well, if I'm not mistaken, right? I think he went approaching his 40s.
He wasn't a box-to-box player either. I think he was a kind of skill set, like in a header in the box kind of guy from set pieces. He'd do well in the Arsenal side right now.
Yeah,
set piece finisher. All right. Also on a winning streak. So they're not on a winning streak, but Ireland in the rugby last year on the way to winning the World Cup, and they went out in the quarterfinals again. But Ireland, winning streak of 17 matches they were on when they were beat by the All Blacks last year. So similar thing.
Are we in Six Nations at the moment?
We're in Six Nations at the moment. It's England, Ireland this weekend. I'll be there.
How do you feel about
on the gantry? Go on, James.
How do you feel about England players having to play in England to qualify for the international team?
It's so interesting because at the moment there's going to be for England rugby, there's going to be Courtney Lawes, who's probably on form, one of the best players in the country, and would walk into the England side. And he's not. He's decided to retire. It's not because he's playing overseas, but he's decided to retire, but he could still play. Then you've got Owen Farrell, who's having a break from international duty, just to say, I'm not retired from international duty. I'm still available. Like, until your country retires you, I don't like this. I'm retiring from international sport. I really don't like it at all. We'll come back to that. But there's not enough England players that would get in the team that are playing overseas at the moment, so it doesn't impact it. However,
it's constricting where they want to play. The English domestic game, from what I can see, is struggling massively.
Yeah.
Right?
Where do they want to play? Do they want to go to France?
France is the money spinner, but I mean, you've got it all over the world, haven't you?
Japan.
Really?
Japan too. Japan, and they go and play in like second and third divisions. Pro D2 in France, like that's where Courtney Laws is going to play. He is one of the best players in the world right now. In his position, in lock or flanker, he's definitely in the top 10 in the world right now, and he's going to be playing in the French second division.
That's nuts.
Absolutely mental, because the money's there.
Are we the only country that does that? That locks our team?
No. Other countries do it in rugby. It's obviously pretty specific to rugby. But in Ireland, they've got 4 teams, so you only have 4 teams to play for. They've got
you have to play for one of those 4 teams to play for the Irish national team. Why?
Wow.
Same in Wales, and the problem with Wales is that they don't have the money to pay them anywhere near what they should be paid, and that's why it's probably not why he did it, Louis Rees-Zammit, because he'd got enough caps that he could play in England. So there's like a amount of caps rule. So if you get past like 25 or 50 caps, then you're eligible to play in another country and still represent like Wales or Scotland or England.
Yeah, he's got his combine last week of March, isn't it, for the NFL?
Yeah.
Wonder if he'll be picked up or just end up back in rugby union.
Not sure, but worth doing for a year. Like it's like done the World Cup. It's the Lions tour of Australia next year. So if it doesn't get picked up, he'll come back and he'll get selected for that. And he won't miss a beat. He'll have missed 10, 12 games for Wales maybe. But if he gets picked up in the NFL, and bear in mind his dad played in the NFL too, so
Really?
little bit of family history there.
What position?
It's not just like
in the NFL.
I imagine he'll be a wide receiver, running back at a push, but probably a wide receiver. He's got
Is he a winger in the?
and he's 10 second flat with great hands. So. But you have to be like the guys that you've got as wide receivers in the NFL. No one's running over 10.1. Like they could all
ridiculous
be
athletes, aren't they?
They'd all be close to Olympic sprinters, and many of them go through sprint and track programs in their Division 1 colleges before they go into NFL.
I think this will be the first.
Going back to what we were saying earlier, right, about like longevity and age and all that. You know, I read earlier this week about Tom Brady and his sprint times now in his early 40s, right, compared to back when he was in his mid 20s, and he's actually beating his sprint times from his early 20s now at the age of 44.
I would say he wasn't fast when he was in his early 20s.
Yeah,
so I know
are we talking former New England Patriots quarterback Tom Brady? Is that who we're talking about?
Yeah,
that's the Tom Brady. Yeah.
Yeah.
His TB12 method appears to be working well for him. Let's put it that way.
Yeah, American football longevity is slightly different depending on positions because of the dangerous.
The average career span in the NFL is 2 years. So,
yeah.
Wow, really?
Mm-hmm.
Too many hits to the head.
Is that injuries or is it just like turnover?
Just turnover. Like the volume of players and the players coming through. Yeah.
I mean,
I feel like. Go on, mate.
I was just going to say the Super Bowl was the first American football game I've watched all the way through, so I think I may have to watch a few more this year if there's any this.
You're hooked, aren't you?
I really enjoyed it. Yeah, I've had
it's a great game.
I was up anyway. I was like, I'll see what this is all about, and I think once you understand it, I played the game a little bit this year, so I understand the rules a little bit more.
Hold on, say that again.
I played the game as in the PlayStation game.
Oh, okay. Well, that's not as good.
No, I'm not getting it with the mask. I ain't got all that. I'm not an athlete.
I thought you were going to surprise us with I've been turning out for Derby Dynamite.
Yeah.
There is an NFL that we play around the corner from it.
You've got time for PlayStation and golf. Wow.
Working on. So I think
I'm going to have to bleep that out. I'm going to have to edit this. How far through are we that I'm going to have to edit you swearing?
What did I say?
Sorry, children listening.
I didn't say.
He said working hard.
I thought you said FNL. Okay,
No.
great. Don't have to bleep that out.
To be fair, it
just
doesn't sound like that.
I know
edit
you're
over.
putting a disclaimer in
over.
against my employer. No. Yeah, so I think I'll watch it a little bit more this year. So if there's a English interest or the Welsh interest, definitely see where it
It
is.
wasn't the Usher halftime show that got you hooked, was it? Or was that kind of before your time?
Yeah, that doesn't happen every game, mate. You do know that, don't you?
You're joking me. It won't be at Wembley. No,
The repertoire that they rattle through in the halftime shows, though.
there's some serious movement. I don't know how they get it all on the pitch, all set up, perform in the
It's a
halftime.
hell of a show. Hell of a show.
Chesterfield's you're lucky to get a halftime challenge and a burger, and these guys are putting on a full concert after.
So we maybe we pick up an NFL team next year each. I mean, I'm Patriots because I've always been Patriots. I've followed the whole of the Brady's career through the Patriots, and when he left, I kind of I'd lost interest. Like Wes Welker years, I was fully invested. Gronkowski,
When they got
Gronkowski
rubbish,
as well.
is that what you're telling us?
I feel like I had a team, but I'm scrolling through them now, and none. Like I don't know, maybe
Dallas
not.
Cowboys.
Like you through uni, like I was.
Yeah,
watching some NFL and some NBA. The NBA, the Memphis Grizzlies were on my team. I don't know why. I can't. They weren't very good anyway, and yeah, I don't think I ever settled on an NFL team.
Come join the.
You guys know how often I head out to Los Angeles, right? So you know it's going to be the Lakers for me, and probably the Raiders.
Are they in LA now?
Yeah, I mean, if the Raiders stay, the Raiders move around.
Yeah,
so
they
we'll
move
see.
around a lot. Yeah.
Rams now, are they LA?
Well, we've still got the Las Vegas Raiders, right?
Yeah. Or just come join the Swifties at the Kansas City.
Yeah. Maybe
Is
the
that-
49ers
is that-
are a stretch.
Is that where you're going then, James? You're
Yeah, I'll join my
yeah.
fellow Gen Zers. I'm not even Gen Z, but I'll
Yeah, I was going to say you'd be sneaking in if you did.
I'll be the imposter in the corner
Do you know what state? Do you know what state Kansas City playing, James?
in Kansas.
No. See, there you go.
What,
this is
are they the
my-
one next door to Kansas? That's
Yeah,
I
it's
didn't
Missouri.
know.
It's-
I didn't know.
It's
American-
Missouri. Kansas
Okay.
City's in Missouri.
I only knew that.
Kansas City's not in Kansas. It is next to Kansas, but it's in
Big
Missouri.
Yeah.
I feel
They're
like
the kind of
that's-
things you're going to need to know. They're the kind of things you're going to need to know if you're going to go to watch
Pretty
Kansas
simple.
City.
Do you like Taylor Swift? Yes. Do you watch? It's pretty simple. That's the only question you get.
I feel like you'd have set off the QI alarm, James, with that.
Yeah.
Oh no.
I don't know if we just gained a load of listeners or lost a load of listeners, or if it stayed at 0 listeners, possibly. I don't know. Anyway, I think we'd probably call it a night there and end the recording. But if you have been listening, thank you very much. Do get in touch at allsportspods@gmail.com. And now we'll have a look through and a read if we get anything through, and have a chat about what you want to chat about. Thanks, everyone.
Cheers, guys.
Is that?
Can't